you look at it really critically, China probably wouldn't be as polluting if those of us in other countries weren't demanding that they create all the stuff that we think we need. So it's this big circle that everything feeds into everything else. We love to point fingers, but again, we're all sharing this space together and we're all sort of responsible for the things that are happening.
Right. Yeah, this big circle, I would say it looks more like a dumpster fire. But because
Certainly.
it because it's yeah, you're totally right because I never, it's so simple. I never thought of it from that perspective that like, yeah, China does have, I think 1.3 billion people, but they're the factory for the rest of the world. So if we would enter, especially the Western world we're such consumers of plastic and garbage, that if we would enter a phase of more minimalism or degrowth, then China would have a better opportunity, to not be such a giant polluter. But I don't even know where to start with that idea because it's so big. It's kind of collapsed in my head already. Whereas, are any of these conversations happening as far as degrowth? Because if you talk to anyone on Wall Street or anyone honestly that has a finance job, you talk about the idea of degrowth being a good thing, and their brain breaks. Where like they think that if you're not growing, you're dying, and that's a popular phrase. And I think that is so insane. Like if you look at even Japan right now, after their gigantic collapse from their real estate market, I think in the 80s maybe, like it's not like that country died. Like people still have jobs, they have their own problems, they're still working towards them, but like people still have good lives there, and it's a very well functioning society for anyone that's been there. So like, can you speak a little bit to what you think of degrowth and if any of these conversations are happening anywhere yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of and I hate to call it a buzzword because it doesn't really give it justice, but degrowth is certainly a major part of
Right.
conversations that are happening at the private sector level. So that's excluding all the finance people because they're in a different world that's not based at all in the current
Okay.
reality. And also consumers are asking for this. So whether that's degrowth or more conscious consumption, there's a real palpable shift over the last 5 years towards things like that. But of course, that's butting up against, again, that reality. And the reality is that the people paying for this stuff that are financing it all are asking for growth and growth and growth. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where that's impossible because we'll run out of resources. I would hope, and I don't know if this is the case, but I would hope that those finance people that are running the show are risk averse enough and intelligent enough to recognize that that point of being unable to grow will eventually happen, the material risk of that. And I approach everything very much from a dollars and
Right.
cents perspective. It's not, I wouldn't ever call myself an activist or anything like that. It's all very practical. So running up against the material risk of not being able to grow because you've run out of resources is something they should be considering in the financial sector. In the private sector, in
Hmm.
business, particularly fast moving consumer goods and the like, they're certainly looking at the limits of growth. A very sizable portion of companies have entered a virtuous cycle where they're now competing on being truly sustainable, not just saying they are because it's the right thing to say, but recognizing the business imperative of being sustainable over time and what good that can do for their business. So, as an example, shoring up supply chain and logistics, right? A major part of sustainability and helping out the environment. But at the end of the day, it's great for the bottom line. So smart businesses are already doing that and have been doing that for a while. If I had a crystal ball, I would venture to guess that in 10 or 15 years' time, those companies that either are very late to the game or refuse to play ball are not really going to be around much longer. There will be some, right, in the super
Hmm.
polluting industries and things of that nature. But from a consumer goods perspective, the market won't stand for it. So one of the few silver linings of capitalism is that businesses respond to what the market wants. The market does not want hyper polluting companies that are bad for their people and bad for workers. So things will kind of figure themselves out. Unfortunately, like with everything else over the past 10 years, we're kind of stuck during a transition phase instead of being able to see, what's going to happen at the end of it.